All right. Yeah, so once I get going on a YouTube kick, man, I don't stop. It takes me a while. So in this video, by the way, YouTube does this a lot. It gets glitchy with me, and I don't know if it's because I use a phone or what. But there's this weird glitch that goes on with YouTube where it won't allow me to title my video. So I'll type the title in, and I'll have to kind of fuck around with it because it's being glitchy to get it to upload. And then when it finally does upload, then it removes the title that I typed in and just defaults to today's date. So then I have to go back and figure it later on. I go back like a day later or something, and then I can name it. So these videos are not going to be titled until later today, tonight, or tomorrow, or whatever. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about like more about like kind of like hobo life or whatever you want to call it, nomad life, van dweller life, these kinds of lifestyles, you know, because I like the subject of van life and nomading and stuff, and I kind of talked a little bit about how my situation is a form of nomading, but like it's similar to like the railroad navvies, where they would nomad to build the railroads, but they would travel from location to location, and then they would have to stop and set up camp for long periods of time to build the railroads and the bridges for the railroads before they packed up and moved on to the next. And so my kind of nomading experience is more like that. And so this is my trailer currently. I've had this trailer for about a year, and before this, I had a van. I did the same thing, only in a van. And so anyway, so anyways, you know, when you talk about like you've got these preppers, and I'm into kind of the prepping stuff too, because when I first moved into my van in 2017, when I decided to do it, at the time I lived in a really nice studio, and not like a studio apartment, but like a studio, you know, is a 2-story building, and the top part was where my where my bed and that kind of stuff is, and then on the bottom floor was a soundproof band room, fully equipped soundproof band room, and a huge open space, where I had, you know, a small library of occult books, and I used all this space to write and record music and work on other art forms like that. And so I had a career, and I decided, fuck it, I'm not doing this no more. And I just sold all my shit. What I couldn't sell, I gave away. Set up my van in the meantime, and then just left everything. Left all that shit, anyways. Not everything, but I left all that, my career and you know, my nice home and everything. And so, anyways, and so then I've been kind of doing this ever since then. But not your typical van dwelling where. So anyways, but like when I set up my van, so I did research on survival stuff too, because you know, my approach to van dwelling is not like your typical YouTuber and shit, which I've talked about all that. And anyways, I got a book, so I was buying a lot of, I was buying prepper gear to set up my van, so that when I made the transition from my home, my studio home, into my van, you know, it would be effective. So I was like buying different kinds of survival gear, etc., etc., you know, to prepare for, you know, what it would be like to live in a van. I actually bought one of those prepper books, and the prepper book was one of the it was like the most highly regarded prepper book. It's like regarded as the best written survival guidebook, and they had put out what do they call those, like different editions of that book. But I bought the original edition, because the original book, and then updated editions were released after the original book, and this is like the book that's supposedly regarded as the best survival guidebook. And so I got the original copy instead of the later editions, right? And this is what I want to talk about in this video is I was reading through some of the book, and it points out, it has some really interesting points. One of them that I thought was really piqued my interest and intrigue, right, is that it says in this survival guidebook that the most challenging aspect of being in a survival situation, like it's one of the top 2 or 3, and I think it might have even been regarded as the most challenging and difficult aspect of being in any survival situation is boredom. And you'd think, well, wouldn't it be freezing weather, or wouldn't it be like harsh conditions and all these? It's regarded as one of the top most, if not the top most, harsh conditions of being in a survival situation is boredom, and boredom will fuck a person up like nobody's business. And this is something that the book preps a person for, is if they're in a survivalist situation, they better know how to handle boredom, because they're going to be experiencing long periods of boredom. So this is a big challenge, yes. This is just based off of my limited experience. I'm no expert or nothing, but so I wanted to talk about my experience here. You know, the challenges of living like I do. And so I wanted to go into boredom. I wanted to point that out because it's in this renowned survival book says this, which I would agree, you know. And so, but anyways, like I wanted to just kind of go through some of like things that I have challenges with, including boredom being one of them. So actually, I was taking a shit when I was thinking about this, and that's what I decided to do a video on it. So, for example, like when I'm taking a shit, okay, I don't have any water, and so just the idea of, let's say I'm all done, I've taken the shit, the process of flushing the toilet, like if you have a toilet, well, you just pull the lever and the poop disappears. But if you don't have running water and you have a makeshift like toilet, well, the process of flushing my shit down the toilet means I have to figure out how to transport it from my trailer to a garbage can. So imagine the difference in time. Like, how much time does it take to flush a toilet? Well, like a second, 1 second. How much time does it take to transport a bag of human feces from my trailer to a dumpster? It takes like at least 5 minutes. At least. No, more, because there's a whole process. So every time I take a crap, every time somebody who has water takes a crap, they just flush the toilet in 1 second. While me. And this is just one aspect of this. Like, another thing, for example, food. Well, and this goes into boredom. Like if I'm living on very little, food is very boring. Like it's very difficult to enjoy food. And if I want food that I can just enjoy that isn't just boring, that costs a lot of money. Even just one meal where it's not boring food, okay? Otherwise, there is the option of, uh, uh, making food that isn't boring, but then that means more dishes to clean, and then there's a whole the whole process to cleaning a dish. Like I showed you that there is the spray bottle thing, right? There's the spray bottle thing, okay? But like I made spaghetti the other night, and that was like 2 nights ago, and so I didn't do the spray bottle thing. And the reason I didn't do the spray bottle thing is because, well, I mean, because it's work. Like it's crazy. Like, okay, like so when I'm finished with the spaghetti, normally you would just rinse out the pot, and get all the crap off, and then wash it in the sink. Well, with me, and I'm not doing this as a sob story. I'm just saying this is kind of the way this shit goes. I have to, lift this up, take the lid off, pour the water in the pot, and then to get the stuff out of it, and then I have to find a place to put the dirty water. So if I rinse it out like that with this bottle of water, and I've swished it around in the pot. Well, then I take the pot outside. I could walk as far away as I can from the trailer and dump it, or I could just kind of walk, a few steps out and dump it. But then there's coyotes, there's rodents, there's all kinds of stuff. Whereas if I were to do it in a sink, it would just go whoosh, right down. I don't have to worry about coyotes and rodents and other things attracted to the smell of the remnants of the food in this pot. And so like everything is like this, and so something that might take someone else maybe a minute to do, it takes me like almost 10 minutes to do. Something like flushing a toilet that takes person 2 seconds to do takes me like 5 minutes or more to do, and that this is just everyday shit, like everything, if I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or anything. And so this is like this kind of life that I live is more, it's like having a job, just in and of itself is a job. And, and so then it makes it harder to eat. If food is boring, always boring, well, then it's harder to eat. I'm more comfortable going without eating because of all the extra effort and work it takes to make food and the process of it. Including the process of cleaning the dishes when done and stuff. Like it's just like it's way more work than someone who has even just something as simple as access to running water. And so because food is boring and flushing a toilet takes way more energy and effort, cleaning a dish takes way more energy and effort, or it can, and like this is just everyday life, right? Is more time. Now, right now I'm on downtime at my job, but before I was like, imagine having a job with all this. Like I can't just, your average person who has a job, when they wake up in the morning, they jump in the shower and take a shower. Like brushing my teeth is like way, way more of a process than someone who's got access to running water, or they just turn on the water and brush your teeth and go. Like, the process of brushing, you'd be surprised how much more of a pain in the ass it is when living like this. to do even the most basic of things. And then on top of that, like food is boring unless I'm going to spend a lot of money. And food, the prices of food is outrageous. You know, it's like ridiculous. Um, and and so, you know, food being boring, I eat less. You know, just that this alone is a job in and of itself. I find myself just going through the day just taking care of my basic needs is in and of itself a job, because it takes me all this time to flush the toilet, all this time to run the sink, my makeshift sink, all this time to properly dispose of black water, all these things, like properly dispose of urine, shit. It's like all like way more than just somebody who has a bathroom and a kitchen with running water in it. It's like insanely different. And so, and then imagine holding a really intense job. So many of the months, these 6 or 7 months that I've gone without water, I've been in an extremely insane, intense, very demanding job. And so on top of this, on top of all this shit that I have to do just to flush a toilet or wash a dish or dispose of black water or urine, on top of that, I have this extremely fucking demanding, basically slave job. It's a slave job. And now that I have downtime right now, see, I can't even think. I can't even process shit as fast as it's coming at me when I have this insanely demanding slave job on top of like having to manage wastewater and all this other shit in the conditions that I live in. And so it's just like it's really a lot. It's a lot. And then the boredom, you know, there's nothing to do because everything costs money. And most things that cost money are just a ripoff anyway. It's just snake oil salesmen trying to fuck you over. And you know, we all know this. Like all this shit outside it's just a bunch of wolves in sheep's clothing outside of my trailer that are all trying to make a buck, trying to fuck people like me and you over to make an extra buck everywhere. And so it's better to just not really, like, what is there out there for me? Not much, you know. And everything costs money. And everything is overpriced. So I spend a lot of time in here just hunkering down. This is like survival. I have been in survival mode. That's all this is total survival. And then the thing about boredom, you know, like that book I was telling you about, I can't remember what it's called. I seem to have misplaced it. I haven't seen it for a while. I know it's here somewhere. Oh wait. It might be, where in the fuck? Anyways, whatever. So, you know, it's kind of extreme, you know. This is not an easy life by any means at all. And so when we're looking at these people that are doing these YouTube channels and stuff, like, you know, it's just ridiculous. You know, they couldn't survive even just in this situation I'm in. Like, no, they couldn't handle it. And so, oh, and I was going to say too, like, so money is such a main component of nomading and van life. And so, like, when I turn 62, like, so in 12 years, if I live that long, then I can get my Social Security that I paid into all these years. But that's 12 years away. So, like, but like, if I was on Social Security and I was getting like $1,000 a month, oh, dude, my life would not be boring at all. It would be full of adventure. You know, I could easily make that happen. You know, and it would be way easier. It would be way easier if I had Social Security coming in and was getting like even $800 to $1,000 a month. Like, I would not be bored at all. Like, it would be full of adventure. It would be amazing. And but I'm not. That's not where I'm at, right? And so I have to figure out how to make money in order to, and this is why I reference, the railroad navvies. Well, they're nomads, but they had to work in order to nomad. They had to make, you know, and that's why. So they would travel to a spot and then set up camp and work on the railroad until that section of the railroad's built, and then they'd pack up and move down to the next section and set up camp and work. They're not collecting money coming in. So you've got a ton of people that are getting their Social Security checks, and I'm telling you, like, if I had a Social Security check of $1,000 a month coming in, oh dude, I would be living in my van and I would be traveling. I would be traveling a lot. I would still work. It would in a lot of ways it would be easier to find work. I would find work, and like it would just be a big adventure, and but that's not reality for people like me. And so, like, using a toilet, flushing a toilet, like, all these things would be way easier. If I was getting $1,000 a month and living in a van, it'd be nothing. It would be nothing to dispose of a bag of human feces, and it would be nothing. All these things would be so much easier than the situation that this is. It would be way easier, dude. Like, I mean, so anyway, it's just an interesting observation I wanted to talk about.